Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and good night, wherever you may be. Stamp collecting is fun, and we're going to look at some stamps today. My collection, in fact, of Japan and South Africa stamps from the Arts and Crafts box. So that box has actually come to the end with regards to Japan and South Africa, and I'll be starting a new collection from there shortly. But we'll have a look at what I've mounted up and what I've hinged up in some cases, and also the dates of some of the stamps. So Japan, the first stamp was issued on the 20th of April 1871. It was known as the Dragon stamp. I have not got that stamp. But before 1871, before Japan had their own postal service, foreign countries, foreign powers who were in Japan, so, foreign nationals, if you will, say from Britain, from the USA, from France, Italy, Holland, wherever it may be, they had their own post offices in places like Kobe and Yokohama, Nagasaki, all the way up to 1879. So it was after that date that the National Postal Service of Japan was fully established. Um, not just for internal mail, but for airmail as well. Oh, not airmail. There was no planes, but overseas mail. Anyway, well, enough of my misspeaking. We'll have a look at some of the stamps. Here we've got, and I'll put these all in plastic sleeves to keep them as best as I can. 1967, these Buddhas are very, very common indeed. We have another Buddha here from 1974. So Buddha obviously is a big old thing in Japan in the modern era, possibly. Not quite sure Buddha would have been big back in the 1800s, not sure. Here we have chrysanthemums, and again a very common stamp again, 1966. 1974 more Buddhas, 75 rather Buddhas, 81 another Buddha. We go back in time here, 1929, when we have sort of different blocks of so the sunflower, which I think is very popular in Japan. Sunflower represents success, richness, lots of money, wealth. And we also have Mount Fuji, so two of the big things in Japan in 1929. Fast forward to more modern times, 1995, a hut of some description. 1989, some sort of mollusk, plants. Nature is very central theme of Japanese stamp displays. A duck, 1992. Back to 1940, so the war is being fought. 1923, pre-war, again the sunflower is prominent. 1948, 10 yen purple. Very complicated stamp, flowers, chrysanthemum, sunflowers again probably. A full stamp, nice colour. A Buddha type figure, possibly, from 1980. Back furthest we go, again the sunflower is in focus, and it's the 1899 1 sen, 1923. 1899, it's different valuation, that's a 20, that's a 1 sen, this is a 20 yen possibly, I don't know. Sen, another one. And 1972, this is a lady with wings. And here we have a 1923 again. We've got in these two are a pair. 1966, 1962, flying bird. 1921, and a 1913, Tazawa. 1923. So again, these two are on the 1929. Height of empirical Empire of Japan. We go to the Blossoms from 1966. These are very commons, you would say. Back to the Chrysanths. 1977, again common. Buddha. More Buddha. Some sort of creature. Donkey or a horse or a... not sure. 1974. 1953. 1967 donkey. And this, apparently, is a 1923 Japan Revenue Emergency Earthquake Tax stamp. So that paid towards the... Well, they have earthquakes over there because the houses are so flimsy, made of paper and wood. If there's an earthquake, they just shatter. If there's fire, you know, whole cities can burn down. I think it's different now. Okay, to South Africa. 1982's down the side here. 1988. 73. Ernest de Jong. 61. Nice lion. And its prey, possibly. 1954. Buffaloes. South Africa flower rings. Mining of gold. 1968 figure. Possible freedom. 1979. We've talked about the establishment. One of the earliest dates, as I've done, you know, what little research I've done. In 1500, the captain of a Portuguese ship, Petro da Tade, placed a letter in a milkwood tree in Mossel Bay. He was acting governor of that area. No, I apologise for that. No, he placed a letter in Mossel Bay, which possibly it was picked up eventually. In 1792, acting governor of the Cape, Johann Isaac Arrhenius, opened a post office next to the pantry at the Castle of Good Hope, Cape Town, and the first stamp was the Cape Triangular in 1853. So those were some of the interesting facts given to me by AI. We got more stamps. Pal. A castle. Her Majesty. 1961 flowers. 74 shield. Lovely bird. 67. Is that Vorster, maybe? President Vorster. 1966. Plants. Buffalo. They love a buffalo. Pretoria, nice cancel there, Pretoria from 1945. Birds. Doves of Peace, 1966. The Dam. So we got that. We carry on. 1982, 74. There's a gap there, I'm not sure what's going on with that. Here's a nice antelope. An ibex, maybe. These are pretty common. And that one's been through the wars. Look at the difference in colour. Gold. We've mentioned that before. 1968. Excuse me, my sinuses are very bad today. Can hardly breathe and speak at the same time. We go further back in time, 1926. Nice stamp. A deer bounding, an ibex. Monkey. A bird. A parrot. And another ibex. Yeah, been quite rightly proud of nature, natural resources. The year 2000, a fish, a bird, peace dove, long-legged bird, Martin Luther, gold, gold threesome, a zebra. You can't beat a zebra. A Moorish idol, in other words, a fish which swim around. Ibex, penguins and hedgehogs. How strange. We have hedgehogs in this country, not penguins. This country being the UK. They make a noise too, hedgehogs, and when they're crunching on apples that have fallen from the tree. A rhinoceros. Flowers. Lily of some description. So a lot of flowers and nondescript stuff, purely non-political. No one's. They've got away from that. It's like we don't want to really touch it when it comes to the post office and stamps, and I can't blame them for that. Those are wonderful, aren't they? The old sailor Jack Tar. And this one I couldn't really find a date for, but I put 1942. This is obviously, if it's 42, it's the war, so it's a propaganda piece really more than anything. Here we have another South Africa war stamp. 1942. It's got tanks there, so there's certainly war theme going on to support the war against. Here we have 1933. Again, we saw that one earlier. 1950 and 1972. So there we have it. Argentina we have seen. Just to go to Eva Peron here. Hadn't realised that she was it was her husband Juan Peron who was the president, but she was a big influence behind him, and she didn't last that long. Also, she died very young. When Juan Peron then went away for decades, I think, and then he returned as president for a short period of time. There was a lot of changes going on in Argentina post-war, and Eva Peron in some way became quite iconic. So, there are stamps to her, which I don't think there are stamps to any first ladies anywhere else. I'm not sure, you can correct me if I'm wrong. But she was so committed that they had her, or she demanded that she would give a speech, almost on the eve of her death, and she could hardly stand up, so that she was strapped to a chair so that she wouldn't fall down. That was her commitment to her belief and to her husband and to her country. Not everybody liked Eva Peron, but she couldn't even be buried in peace. Her body may be known. It may be known where it's been buried, but on her death, it was shipped overseas in secrecy to prevent her enemies and her friends from collecting souvenirs, if you will. So difficult time that Argentina had pre-war, during the war, post-war also, and still to this day really, though it is seemed to be more settled recently. So Argentina is quite an interesting country to collect some spectacular scenery going on. I think we've done this one. I've also done another page for Canada, so I got these actually out of the envelope. I thought I'd just load them up because this is a big old file and needs filling. Anyway, thanks for watching everybody. Excuse my voice today. I can hardly breathe and speak, but I'll talk to you very, very soon. Thanks for watching, and thanks to everyone who gives me a thumbs up, leaves me a comment, sends me a message, supports the channel. Thank you very much. Talk soon. Bye for now.